Hi there, and thank you to Jim Ashley, who says, no sound, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, friends and lovers, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, live at OCON. I'm joined, as always, by Amy Nasir, my delightful and beautiful redheaded co-host, and we are broadcasting live from Austin, Texas. I'm just going to refresh my screens over here, make sure we don't miss any of the chat, but I can see that we have Jennifer here, who we missed. We wish you were at OCON with us, but glad that you are joining us. Thank you for that. So wonderful. We just need to see if we're on YouTube too. You know, streaming issues. It's interesting. We're using a hotspot. If there are any other issues besides what Jim already let us know, that you couldn't hear a damn thing we were saying, y'all say the word. It's going to be great. We are at OCON. We are at OCON 2021. Today is Sunday, August 29th, 2021. This is, believe it or not, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert. This is Amy. You know who you are. And look at all these people. You can't even see most of them. We'll turn the camera around if we have to, so you can see the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people attending this fine conference. Wish that you were here. It says, is that Yared back there? Probably. I'd have to turn around, which would be rude. But we'll take a look in a minute and see. It could well be. We may even get a few folks who will chime in. Although we're sitting down, they're standing up. They might have to crouch a bit. Or we'll move the camera around. Whatever it takes to have a good time. Today is Sunday, August 29th, 2021 on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, the 241st day of this, am I pointing at the right camera, your best year yet, with just 124 days left to make it so. There are 118 days left until Merry Christmas, 63 days until Halloween. I have my show notes here on the usual yellow legal pad, but most of what I've written, look at this, is on the Ayn Rand Institute special notebook they gave us for taking notes. But I cheated. I was doing notes for this show at the same time as I was taking notes on these great lectures. In fact, it says on my notes here, on this date, Ingrid Bergman was born. And Ingrid Bergman died. She's one of those folks who died on the same day that she was born. Now, Ingrid Bergman, of course, Ilsa in Casablanca. If you haven't seen it yet, you've got to see the episode of The Daily Objective where Amy Nasir, Robert Nasir, and Nikos Sotirakopoulos talked about the film Casablanca. As we mentioned last week on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, what I didn't know at the time is it was also a favorite film of Ayn Rand. She described the film as flawless. In fact, she had been asked, for example, would you like to have seen the love story have a happier ending? She said, no, that would have been terrible. That was not the point of the movie at all. What was the point of the movie? Go back and watch that episode. After the show, we'll post the show notes with a link to that episode, so you can just click that, watch it, enjoy the heck out of it. So happy birthday and day of passing to Ingrid Bergman. It's also a happy birthday to Michael Jackson, who until last spring was a controversial figure. There were real questions about how he managed his private life and all the things that he was accused of, and I think he was thoroughly exonerated by the article by Tim White in The Objective Standard. If you haven't read that article yet, Justice for Michael Jackson, give it a read. You know you love the music. Maybe you feel funny about loving it so much now. If you haven't read the article yet, when you do, all of your concerns will be washed away. So happy birthday to the late Michael Jackson. I'm going to go to the next page in my Ayn Rand Institute notebook here, which says, Justice for Michael Jackson. Oh, finally, today is Individual Rights Day.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is a day to celebrate individual rights.
Yes.
By Ayn Rand's definition of individual rights. I thought that was interesting. Why is there Individual Rights Day? Well, it turns out it's also the birthday of John Locke. John Locke, born on this date, August 29th in 1632, so it stands to reason this would be Individual Rights Day. And again, we are live from Austin, Texas, which is why nothing looks the way it normally does. No, these are exciting times for us. We are at the Ayn Rand Institute's OCON Objectivist Conference 2021, where the theme is celebrating Leonard Peikoff's epic book, Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, or as we call it, OPAR. Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand. This is the 30th anniversary. In fact, they're releasing a 30th anniversary edition of the book. We've gotten to see it in the reception area here. You can actually buy a copy if you are here in Austin, Texas, attending the conference. So far, now we're only 2.5 days in, really 2 days in, and so far we have attended talks on pride and integrity and purpose, and a whole separate talk on central purpose.
Yes.
And the theme that's coming to the fore for me, and I suspect for you, and probably for all of you, if you are folks who are attending and watching the show, it's kind of a thread that's running throughout is purpose. And for me, that means self-mastery. Purpose and self-mastery. So far, I give kudos to all of the speakers. Everybody's been outstanding. But Ben Bayer in particular, Dr. Bayer, has been great.
Yes, and Gene Maroney as well.
Yes.
So good.
Well, again, I don't want to leave anybody out by naming anyone, but that's what I'm going to do, because Dr. Bayer, in particular, everybody has, but Dr. Bayer has batted it out of the park. He opened with a session on pride, gave examples from Ayn Rand's writings, very clear on the topic. The second session he did, the one that was just this morning, was called What For? And it's a reference to Francisco's eternal question in Atlas Shrugged, when somebody would question purpose. And he would always say, well, why do you want to do the thing? What for? What for? What for?
Right.
And he, of course, superlatively had an answer for that in everything that he chose to do in his life. So this has been a reminder to me, and I want to encourage each and every one of you to live large, to live this moment bigly, to live larger than this moment. See, the bridge between purpose and central purpose is to live larger than this moment. See, during Dr. Ben Bayer's talk this morning entitled What For? How Atlas Shrugged dramatizes the struggle for the value of purpose, I wrote down a lot of notes. I wrote a lot of notes. I wrote a lot of things that Dr. Bayer didn't even say. And I want to share, first I want to share a few quotes with you from Dr. Bayer's lecture.
Okay.
Because these are interesting, and if you saw the show last week, it was especially heartening to hear Dr. Bayer, because he mentioned temperament, which we talked about in 5 minutes and then got into in some detail in the Life on Earth show. We talked about Myers-Briggs, MTBI, and knowing your own temperament. And there are people who deny temperament. If it's tabula rasa, there must not be temperament. And Dr. Bayer knows better. We know better. Now you know better. Dr. Bayer did say, among other things, quote, many values are ends in themselves. Now, why does that come up? Unquote. Why does that come up? Somebody asked a question about, well, how do these other ends in themselves values integrate with your central purpose? And Dr. Bayer made the point, which shouldn't be controversial, but I know is with some folks, that not all purposes integrate with your central purpose. They're all consistent with your central purpose, but some things you do, whether it's sex or ice cream, are ends in themselves. In the same sense as art is an end in itself, even though it can be said that art is emotional fuel and it helps you to achieve your larger values. Art is an end in itself. In fact, Ayn Rand emphasized that point, that for all the things that art can do in your life, by its nature, it has no didactic purpose. It's not trying to teach you anything. It's not trying to accomplish something. It is an end in itself. And Dr. Bayer made that point. Some purposes, some values are ends in themselves. Love to hear that reinforced at a talk. Of course, he said it better than I would.
Yep.
Some of these talks will be published. All of them are available if you signed up for the virtual conference. Give that one a listen, both his talk on pride and
Yeah,
what for.
I especially like the one on pride, and he made the really excellent point about, virtues are things tools that help you gain values or maintain values. So so if pride is a virtue, what does it help you gain or keep? Why are you using this tool? What is it exactly? And I love his point about the fact that the pride helps you gain spiritual values and self-esteem. So that's really nice. I got that.
Oh, that's right. I'm just wondering if it's working well. Bonnie is on the chat. She does say that her cell phone is constantly buffering, and I'm hoping that it's not yours. It might not be your cell phone. It might be that we are using a cell phone as a hotspot. Hopefully this is coming through. Otherwise, some folks might have to listen to the podcast afterwards. The local recording is sure to be trouble-free. Incidentally, speaking of people, God, we wish you were here, Bonnie. Speaking of people we wish were here but aren't, Marius is in the chat. I see you there, and it is good to see you. Greetings as well. Also, Jonathan Honig says, hi there. Jonathan, are you not here, and why is that? Actually, I think he had another obligation to be on a television show, as Jonathan does that as a professional TV personality, besides his outstanding appearances on the Ayn Rand Center UK's Weekly Objective, which I didn't hear live, and that one's only on Clubhouse, so I have to wait another week to hear Jonathan again. But hello, and Petya's here as well, one of our dearest West Coast fans. Thank you so much for being here. Love out to you. Even Chris Land is on, and he says, not choppy. So, hey, our hotspot is doing the job. Thank you for that, Chris. I always appreciate the little technical bits of, hey, did you know your stuff is actually working? It's like so cool. Love to hear that. Thank you for that. Yes, I love that Ben Baer said, many values are ends in himself. He also said, end quote, non-central purposes take on a life of their own. Well, that's obvious, right?
What did he mean by that exactly?
The things that you do as ends in themselves, projects and puzzles and family things and values that are not necessarily directly integrated into your central purpose, they do take on a life of their own. They become large. They become substantial. These things are not light. That's why I love that Greg Salmieri prefers not to say optional values, but rather says personal values. This stuff has weight. It has meaning. It has purpose. I love that. Even though they're optional, and even though you can take them lightly, they matter. This stuff matters. Your life matters. Every moment matters. These aren't throwaway moments. Oh yeah, this is just me. This is just my mind. This is just my ice cream cone. Ice cream cones are important, especially if you're like me. You're not eating much ice cream these days because, well, you all know, I'm dropping those pounds.
That's right.
This stuff matters. God, this matters so much. Oh my gosh, Sandy Franklin is on live. Sandy, hello in Traverse City, Michigan, or wherever Sandy gets around. She's a traveler. Her life is a vacation, and yet so much purpose. Love to see it. Hi, Sandy. Brian is online as well. That is very cool. But yes, he did point out non-central purposes do take on a life of their own. That's cool. And he went on to explain that they are integrated in one way. They are elements in, because somebody asked him about this, and he's like, well, they've got to integrate with something. and I was ready to say the answer, but Dr. Baer beat me to it, and I'm sure he said it better than I would have said. He said, but they are integrated in one way. They are elements of your life. Your life. They are elements of you, of who and what you are. And that's enough. It doesn't have to be if your central purpose is, for example, to improve people's experience of optimism and gratitude, kind of thing. That might be my central purpose. But in the moment, your purpose, not your central purpose, your purpose is to go to the swimming pool with your kids and have a moment that is an end in itself and give them that pleasure and teach them maybe to swim a little bit or do some other thing. Pleasure, like art, is an end in itself, and it has to be. And it has that additional purpose, just like art does, of reinforcing that sense of life, that sense that your life is an end in itself, that spiritual fuel. But it is an end in itself. I have a lust for life, and I want that for you, a lust for life, but I live for those moments which are such an end in themselves. The way I describe it, it may be over the top, it may be hyperbolic, but I live for those moments where in the moment, after the moment, I feel like, if I died right now, that's okay. This was a good life. This was a good run. Now I'm young. Look at me. I'm so young. But the older I get, the more I carry that forward, the more important it is to realize this has been a great life. I got so much more to do, but this has been a great life. Those end in themselves moments give me that feeling that I want more of this. I don't ever want to die. But if I died today, I'm okay with it. That's one of the things I get from being at OCON is I want more of this. I want this not just this week. I want this all year. I want it all the time. So, Amy, what is your favorite thing about this? As I wind down the philosophical content, what is your favorite thing about this week?
Oh my gosh!
I see what your favorite thing is there. I see what Amy's going to show.
This is my new love.
This is show and tell here. All right, all of the objectivists know who that is. Dr. Amish Adalja.
Yes, Amish Adalja, as in Amy and Amish.
Even though I've given all the props to Ben Bear as the best presentation, it may be that the most appreciated presentation so far. Well, you can talk about it.
All right. So Dr. Adalja came out and he's like, this has been really cathartic, putting all this together, all of my thoughts, and everything chronologically as far as what actually happened and during the pandemic and what went wrong and what could go right. And he went through all the way down the list about all the things that went wrong. And but he was very, very inspirational, at least to me. And I actually went up there for the Q&A, and I said, thank you so very much. I've been listening to him for over a year now, and he's really kept me sane. And it's been, hey there, Luke.
Luke Travers is on the cam.
Luke, come back. hey, Luke's coming out with a new book. And what's the new book called?
It's called Stories in Paint.
Stories in Paint?
Yes.
That sounds exciting.
This is like volume 2 of Touching the Art here. You need this. In fact, he gave us a teaser at an art tour that we did with
I love
Luke.
to tease.
He's teasing us all the time.
I gotta go.
So
Bye-bye.
thank you for the tease, Luke.
I'm here to tease. That's it.
I love you, Luke.
Yeah. How can you betray Amish like that? Yes, the tour at the Art Museum was outstanding. Luke does these tours under the banner Touching the Art. Metaphorically, you're not really allowed to touch the art, but if you get a chance to attend one of those, they are must-sees. It's not just a visual thing, it's an experience. You are invited into all sorts of activities. It's one of those events where it usually runs about an hour, and after an hour you wonder why your jaw hurts. And then you realize you've been smiling for the last hour. And smiling for an hour actually can make you sore.
So let me tell you more about Dr. Amish Adalja.
Yes.
So I get up on the microphone for the Q&A, and I said, thank you so much. You've kept me sane, and you are one of my heroes. And the crowd went wild, and everybody got up and applauded, and jumped up on the chairs and the tables, and
Totes
took
standing
their clothes
on.
off. And no, actually, that's not exactly what happened.
Yeah, I missed that part. I must have been yawning at the moment. Something, sneezing.
And then I talked about Caitlin Carrico, the one lady originally from Hungary who actually kept pushing on and developing mRNA, messenger ribonucleic acid, woohoo, and cha-cha. So. And also her colleague Drew Weissman, and I said, they deserve a Nobel Prize, and they should have parades thrown for them, and people should throw panties at them and things like that. And
I know who would do that.
I didn't say that. So anyway.
Metaphorically.
So then I asked Dr. Adalja to explain mRNA and how it works, and he did a fine job at that. And he said, I could give an entire lecture on this, and I'm sure he could. I wish he could, actually. So that was really, really lovely. And then afterwards, I got my picture with him, and I asked him the most important question because, Amish is a skateboarder. He actually has a skate park in the backyard of his home.
He's a skater boy. Avril Lavigne was singing about it.
He's a skater boy. So I had to ask him, I said, Dr. Adalja, what is your favorite punk rock band?
And he went classic. which was cool with me because Amy knows the obscure bands
the guy
I don't.
was so sharp. He didn't even pause for a second, but he just had a wry smile on his face, and he said, "The Ramones."
Damn right.
And I said, "For me, it's Minor Threat."
And of course, Amish knows Minor Threat.
So
He knew exactly what she was talking about.
Anyway, it was the best thing ever, and so there you go.
It was very cool.
It's great.
So Brian asked how many attended. I have not heard any. They haven't announced any official numbers. I've heard over 400.
Yeah, but
Now, in the past, they've gotten to over 600, and I know they've had record-breaking years every year. I'm not surprised, given the restrictions and everybody else's challenges traveling, that the numbers are a little lower this year, but you wouldn't know it from the rooms. The rooms are plenty full,
Yeah.
lots of people, plenty to do. We did throw, for example, we threw kamikaze. I don't say kamikaze.
it was nomad.
Suicide karaoke. No, what I...
It was nomad karaoke because we kept on going bumping from one place to another place to another place to another. Finally, we landed.
Yeah, what I meant was we threw one of our not usual, we've only done it a couple of times, but surgical strike karaoke with the portable equipment, portable PA system, portable microphones, everything wireless, and we had to kind of run around to find a place to do it, but by the time we made it into the central hall of the convention center here, we just plopped it down, hooked up the microphone, a little acoustic guitar, and it was the funniest thing, because when we do this, I expect 10, 12 people to show up. We had a hall, I don't even know how many people were in the room. We'll put up pictures at some point. There had to have been 30 or 50 people in the room at the very beginning. We karaoke. It was great. It wasn't on the agenda, but you put it there. So how many attended, Brian? I don't know. I know it's over 400. I don't know how close it is to their records. We'll find out by the end.
250, 300 maybe.
No, it was over 400.
Well, I don't know, just judging from everything.
Okay,
I
well,
don't know.
maybe I heard wrong.
No, maybe it is 300, 400. I bet.
Yes.
Still a wonder.
Rebecca is online. Rebecca's like Sandy. She's always traveling. She's always on vacation. I love it when you catch you online because she's usually on the road, and she does say, Amy is a fangirl. And that's true. Amy is a fangirl.
I'm such a fan.
She better be a fangirl of her husband.
Robert, will you get a picture with me? All right, I'm getting a picture with Robert Nasir right now. I bet y'all are jealous.
Okay. Anyway, that bit of silliness. Now, Jim did ask, what's the title of the book again? Do you remember the title of Luke's book? What was it again? I'll have to look it up. We'll get that for you.
Stories of Art? No. It's
Yeah, it was stories, but I forgot the rest of it.
of art.
Go to touchingtheart.com.
Yes.
And it really is a
I'll
website,
look it up.
Touching the Art. I'm pretty sure it's touchingtheart.com, not .org or
I think
.net
so.
or something. No, go to touchingtheart.com and it's right on the cover because I've looked it up myself. So it is there.
Yes, indeed. So does anybody have any questions for us about OCON?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the
there's
chat
Scott.
here. There's so many great comments. Not too many questions. Yeah, Scott points out Jonathan Honig sings too. He really should have been here because you're right. He karaoke's at the beginning of every episode of the Weekly Objective. Although it was funny because the one week he wasn't there. And Rozzy came on to discuss vegetarianism. So naturally, Amy and I filled the role, sang our own karaoke of Fear's Beef Bologna. A great song if you're into punk rock totally vulgar.
It's touchingtheart.com.
Touchingtheart.com.
And Chris says that it's called Stories in Art.
Stories in Art.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's an extension of the first book, Touching the Art. Buy that too. You should have both.
Yes.
And again, if you get a chance when Luke comes to your town and he's offering these museum tours, that is something that you want to be a part of.
You gotta be there.
Yep. So I'm tempted to turn the laptop around. Because now everybody's standing over there, and it looks like there aren't as many people in the room. But that's okay, because you're really here to hear us talk about OCON even more than to see what's going on in the background. And I wanted to grab people and get them in front of the camera. Tell us, what do you think of this week at OCON? We'll be doing more because not only are we broadcasting live from OCON, but we're committed to doing our Thursday show too.
See if I can get somebody here.
So we will see just how that goes. Who wants to be on camera? Man, these people are much more shy than I would have guessed that they were.
It's just our podcast. That's all it is. It's not like we have 1 million viewers. Not yet.
So Holly does ask, when is the talent show? That is Monday night. In fact, tonight we may have to miss some of the scheduled activities and go back and do a little practice. Make sure we are in tip-top shape for Amy's performance at the talent show, where she will be doing a bit of flamenco dancing.
Flamenco.
It's going to be cool.
Yes.
It's going to be very cool. Although we're having trouble getting a dance floor. It'd be a shame if we have to do that on carpet.
Yeah.
Can't quite get the right kind of stomp. That steel heel just doesn't really do anything on carpet. But you know, if we have to put a bunch of microphones down there just to get some sound out of it, we will. We will do whatever it takes.
Yes, whatever it takes.
Damn straight.
Yeah, Jim asks.
Scott pointed out the title was Stories in Paint.
Paint. Oh, thank you.
Stana says, Stories in Paint.
Oh, thank you.
That sounds right. See, now I'm second guessing. I'm not sure. But I think Stana's correct. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Maria says, ex-libertarians must be all awkward. It's a rule. Well, there's a bit of that. You got some folks here who just don't want to get in front of a camera. Go figure, usually everybody wants to be in front of a camera.
Yeah, so basically back to Luke Travers and his new book, Stories in Paint/Art. That's going to be on Kickstarter soon, so we're going to be able to promote that and maybe even have Luke on and talk to him a little bit more about his extremely wonderful method of enjoying artworks. Something that most people just don't even know, and people go to museums and they're like, oh yes, lovely painting, and then they just walk away and they don't really engage with it. But with Luke's method of touching the art, of actually engaging with the art, it's so much more satisfying and so much more fun.
Yes. Scott says, how is the energy? The energy is outstanding, especially the after-hours energy, and, going out for brisket and going out to party and the after-hours stuff. Of course, the karaoke party was a hoot. That was good fun, and it's only the second night in, so it's hard to say what else will happen. And, people congregating at the swimming pool and taking Ubers out to, what's the name of the restaurant we went to? Stubbs. Well, we went to Stubbs for brisket. Yes. This afternoon we went to an interesting restaurant, Hangout, was it? Well Hung, something like that. Anyway, it was a great, one of these breweries, breweries and burgers and stuff.
The Hot Spot, I know it starts with an H.
All sorts of after-hours activity. Half the reason to come is after-hours activities. Folks who've signed up for the virtual OCON, you can watch all of the sessions virtually. The only one that we're not 100% certain of, even though they said all sessions, is will OCON's Got Talent be virtually streamed? Don't know the answer to that one yet. But the point is, since almost everything is available virtually, the whole point of being here is all of the extra stuff, the people, the atmosphere, and of course you get to ask Q&A questions. Although some of those were available on Zoom. If you've seen them, you had Nero Sotirakopoulos asking questions for other people in the Zoom session. So even that's not a limit. No, it's all about the people, and as Scott knows, keep Austin weird. We have been keeping Austin about as weird as we can, and we're pretty damn weird.
We went to lunch today. Robert decides to regale us with his story about viewing the world a little bit differently, getting a different kind of perspective on life. And so he takes his shoes off. So
very polite, I thought.
Yeah, very polite, and with his socks, very gingerly gets up on top of the restaurant table.
Now, I've told you before, every once in a while, you've got to stand on the table.
Yes. I think I have pictures, actually.
Oh.
Let me see.
You took a picture of me breaking the law there?
Yes.
I guess. Get me in trouble. Oh, you're right. There it is.
I don't know if you can see that or not.
You have to turn your camera the other way. There you go. And then move it over. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, every now and then you've got to get up and stand on the... I know you're not supposed to. I know some restaurants frown on that, and by some restaurants, I mean all restaurants. But every once in a while, you've got to stand on the table. You've got to take the spotlight.
Yes.
Everybody deserves to be in the spotlight, at least now and then. Sometimes you've just got to take it over. So, what do I say? Most of our limitations are self-imposed.
Yeah,
so
the waiter didn't notice.
The waiter did not notice.
Obviously, Austin is weird. So, it's just normal, everyday kind of stuff.
So yeah, speaking of keep Austin weird, I think the last time I stood on the table, it was the restaurant by the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And that gal got a little bit nervous about it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done.
I think it was one of those extra tall tables, near the bar. I'm pretty sure.
How does the John Mayer song, no something, I forgot that name. No such thing as the real world. No, but that's not the title.
Yeah.
Anyway, the John Mayer song says,
Yeah.
"And when I stand on these tables before you, you will know what all this time was for."
Yes.
So get out there and stand on the table, at least every now and then.
Right. And, live stream from OCON, because you can.
Darn right. Okay, now I've got to look it up, even though we're also using the
Right.
No Such Thing. It
No
was
Such
called No
Thing.
Such Thing. Okay.
Yeah,
So listen
yeah.
to the John Mayer song No Such Thing, which has that kind of theme, and you will know why I was standing on the table at lunch today. And I want you to do the same thing. Okay, maybe not stand on the table literally, but at least metaphorically, get up there and stand on the table.
Come on, Noah. This is our friend Noah.
And Noah Stahl is here from OCON 2021. Welcome
Yeah.
to 5 Minutes with
Yeah,
Robert
there you go.
Nasir.
There you go.
And we really should have had the other camera, but you do what you can. You're
So-
out on the road, you're on location.
So
and Noah, how are
Noah,
you enjoying OCON
yeah.
2021?
What's your favorite part so far?
So far, it's awesome, and the best part of the people, in
Great.
particular these two people right here.
Too kind, too kind. And the best part is Austin. Well, Noah lives in Austin, so nothing new there, right?
Yeah, how was Austin?
Austin has the best barbecue in the world.
It's not just
It's
a rumor. It really is the best barbecue in the world.
I guess there's some subjectivity. We could get into an objective perspective of barbecue, but
That's
It was
very
pretty.
true.
It was
That's
pretty
very
damn
true.
good last night.
I think we can objectively make the case for it.
Yeah. No, okay, what's your favorite barbecue place? We went to Stubbs, but do you have a particular preference for a restaurant?
So the best I've ever had is Franklin.
Okay,
And that
Franklin.
is a place that you have to wait 3 hours in line to even get a shot.
Ah,
So
wow.
it's kind of a big commitment,
Okay.
but it was amazing. And potentially there's a huge placebo thing going on there because you just waited for over 3 hours in line.
Yeah.
You're
Now,
so
if
hungry anything
If
would be
you're
good.
gonna have something, it better be the best, and it was worth it.
That's a good point. This must be awesome. Yes.
Yes.
I can't really tell, but it must be.
Oh, wait, I thought
There's
you were
also
watching
a
a
lot
show,
of-
then I realized it's...
No,
it's
you are on camera. Welcome to 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. Feel free to join us.
Come on, Ron. I want to interview you.
And if you don't want to bend over, I will give you the
My
chair.
hair color doesn't match, it doesn't go with the theme.
Well, no.
No, you look good because it's a little
Yeah.
dim. We need the light.
Would anybody like to share?
Bring
I
it
can
on.
shine.
Would anybody like to share what their favorite part of OCON is so far? And on camera over here? Come on.
What is your favorite part of OCON?
Come on, Kelsey. All right.
Leave the hat on, get the hats.
Oh.
Here, Kelsey, you can take my chair so you're on camera because the camera's a little.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see.
I'll just
Yeah.
stand back here.
All right, it sounds great.
Part of OCON that's really difficult because there's so many people here.
Yeah.
It's not like being online.
Right. It's not like being online.
It's non-stop.
Yeah, it is not stuff.
So whether you're taking a break in between conferences, it's like your YouTube chat is never ending. And you just get that conversation free-flowing in different groups all over the conference center
Yep.
all of the time. And if there's something we want to talk about, there's probably someone to find to talk about.
Right.
Which is fantastic.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Whether it's a peer or a mentor or a professor, like they're here.
Yes.
Everyone's here.
Right. And about this kind of group, we can talk about anything. Yeah, I mean, there's so much variety of values that people hold here, and so many interests. I mean, ranging from engineering to art to you name it. So, what's your kind of talk? What are you most interested in?
The two talks that I've enjoyed the most, I think, so far have been basically Ben Mary's talks.
Yes, you were just talking about him, and it's so good.
We did. We did say at the beginning of this episode, great talks, but Ben Bear cannot be beaten.
Right.
Yeah, pride and
Yeah, purpose. Yeah.
Sounds like things I've probably heard an awful lot. Okay, it's another lecture on pride. What am I really?
Right.
Not here because Ben's putting in the effort to make sure that there's something you haven't heard before.
Yes. Yes. As you know,
that's great. I couldn't agree more. Stan. Again, those were the two we told folks about too. I'm so glad that you had the same reaction.
And they build on it. So we did the first one and promised that, oh well,
right.
the second one.
Right. You know, the
And
first
right, he
one.
paid off on it.
The first one on Pride, they were talking about Hank Rearden and how what his development was with regard to his own self-esteem. And it was really sweet because at the very end, Harry Binswanger actually got up onto the microphone and he talked and he asked, about Hank Rearden, and his understanding of Hank Rearden is that he did have quite a lot of self-esteem and self-worth, but there is some evidence in the book where it looks as if Hank Rearden does not, and he definitely needed some development in his life. So anyway, that got a conversation after the talk with Dr. Binswanger and Dr. Bear about Hank Rearden and his point about self-worth and self-esteem. And it's really great.
During the second lecture, I got to see one of the questioners who had asked a question that maybe he was a little confused on the content in some way, and he got to talk with Dr. Binswanger after that lecture about that question, and
Right.
get a person like an explanation to his kind of quandary about what he was asking, and that's where else do you see that? So it's excellent.
Yeah. And on top of that, I got to let Dr. Harry Binswanger know of my appreciation for his lecture. Ayn Rand Highlights and Sidelights is a biographical lecture about Ayn Rand, and so we actually I got to talk to him just a little bit about that, and he was quite pleased with my telling him that I actually listened to that about 20 times, especially when I was a lot younger, and that it really influenced my life and gave me a lot of inspiration. So it was very sweet.
That really is a top favorite.
Yeah, highlights and sidelights. Oh, okay. Turn it back over to Robert, or Stephen, would you like to go ahead and
Tell us what you like best about this week.
Okay. No worries. Well, thank you very much, Kelsey, and continue to enjoy OCON. Thanks so much for being on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or 5 p.m. Central. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a great show. I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
That you guys do what you do. And I know that there was some talk around the conference that it would be so great to see somebody streaming from OCON, and you guys are. So
Yes.
It's what we do every Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern, which is 5 o'clock now. So thank you.
It's not OCON every Sunday.
Not at OCON every Sunday. Oh, I wish. I wish so much. Thank you for being part of it.
All right. Well, enjoy your night. You too. Robert, if you'd like to go ahead and take a seat.
Okay. I will join you.
All right. Join me, Robert.
Well, that was fun.
And here we have Robert Nasir. Did I get your name right? Robert Nasir?
Robert Nasir. That's right. That's right. I'm just looking through the chat here to see what I missed while I was standing up and moving the microphone to try to get a little bit. Oh, we're getting loves. That's super sweet.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome to go over to YouTube and give us a like and a share and
Sandy
subscribe.
Franklin said, "Did you have a message while you were on the table?" And yes, it was where the conversation we happened to be having was leading.
Yeah.
So it was inspired by the conversation that we were having. This idea that every now and then you've got to have the spotlight. You need to put the spotlight on yourself, and you need to overcome your own limitations and do things differently. I loved that David Crawford, brother of Jason Crawford, son of the Crawfords.
The Crawfords.
The Crawfords was talking about without going into too much personal detail, but he's setting up a new household, bought a new place, and he's developing some routines for how he wants to handle, for example, dinner.
Yep.
And he had some great ideas about that. I love this idea of, there are religious people, for example, who have a prayer every dinner. There are Jewish people who have a whole Shabbat routine for dinner. And David is talking about deciding what their rituals will be.
I should say David and Stephanie. Shout out to Stephanie.
David and Stephanie, shout
awesome.
out. And I just love this idea of rituals, not as mindless ritual, but as mindful reminders. And he was way ahead of me. He was already talking about how he appreciates, for example, the bread at the table and what that means. The farmers harvesting the wheat, and the grinders and the millers producing the flour, and the drivers driving the products to the stores, and just a quick appreciation of those things. That is so great. That is so awesome. So we got into a conversation about gratitude, but also about transcending our boundaries and seeing things in different ways. And at some point in that conversation, it just made sense to get up on the table and remind myself of something which, again, I hadn't done in a couple of years, and I was due.
So,
I'm telling you, the world looks different, and I'm sure I said this at the time, the world looks different when you're standing on a table.
That's right.
It's not a show of bravado or for shocking other people, although it does that. You see the world differently than being where you usually are. You see the world differently if you are in a different place or in an unusual circumstance. So it was good. It was a good reminder to myself, even if it was kind of outrageous to everybody else. Now, Irena Romansky is in the room. Irena Romansky, of course, everybody famously knows as the mother of Adela Romansky, Academy Award-winning producer. And Irena Romansky says, try the ramen on Lamari. Now, I have to take that advice to heart because Irena Romansky also happens to be my beloved sister. So thank you so much for joining us, sis. And try the ramen on Lamari. We will look into that here in Austin, Texas. We have a few days left, so that could happen.
It's very true.
Outstanding, especially when we have those kind of lunches where we've got 6 or 8 people together. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go?
And we've been having a great time with using Uber, getting around town, and it's been great.
And Jennifer says, bread. It's so many of us are avoiding bread right now. So, I can't have carbs. Carbs are the devil. Carbs are the devil.
By the way, Jennifer, I ran into Iran this morning, and I told him that you said hello.
She said more than that, but we're not going to share all the details. But yes, we did give Yaron a greeting from you. Amy took care of that.
So that was really fun.
And Jim says, it seems that so far the one idea you most enjoyed hearing a discussion about is the idea of purpose and how our secondary pursuits either integrate or don't integrate with our central purpose. Could you both talk some more about that? And the answer, of course, is yes, we could, but that's not going to happen tonight. I've got things to say about that I'm going to have to develop, that I'm going to have to think more about, and how I want to present them. In fact, every week I give myself homework, which I share with you in case you want to join me in that homework. So I'm going to go back to the little notebook that the Ayn Rand Institute gave me, because I didn't finish reading all of the notes that I wrote for this episode. One of the things I wrote was, over the remainder of the week and in the days following the conference, ... I don't think I'm supposed to read my own ... ellipsis, 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 my homework is... And again, you can decide if you want to join me on this homework for the week. My homework is to reframe my own central purpose. To live larger, more passionately, more mindfully, more rationally, more optimistically, more ambitiously, and more lovingly. And my central purpose, to encourage and enable anyone and everyone else who wishes to do the same. I'm going to be revisiting that central purpose. To live larger, more passionately, more mindfully, more rationally, more optimistically, more ambitiously, and more lovingly, and to encourage and enable anyone and everyone who wishes to do the same. I will be revisiting that central purpose in my life.
You know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like moral ambitiousness.
It is, except it's got a lot more squeeze to it. A lot more woo to it, a lot more oomph to it.
More heart.
I want what I want, I need to put into better words. So that's what I'm going to be working on over the
Right.
week coming up.
And I should
That's
say
my homework
also-
for the week.
So Jean Maroney talked about central purpose as well, and she's coming from more of a psychological perspective on it. It's really, really great, and I just love her. And I talked to her afterwards, and it was just so
Glad you
great.
mentioned that, because it's not in my written notes, but it is in the show notes, and I'll copy that to the description right after the show. There's a link to free resources from Jean Maroney, even if you're not ready to sign up for her $750 a year personal intimate group
Is that all?
where she works directly with you on these things. But
Sign
free
me
stuff,
up.
free stuff. So sign up for the free stuff by getting on her mailing list. Not only will you get a great email every week with all sorts of super valuable tips, easily worth $750 a year, but those are free, but she will give you this values starter kit, and
Yes.
she will send you that as well. So link will be in the show notes. And Petya asks, can you do a show on that central purpose? Yes, I can, and I will.
Yes.
And I'll make a note of that, to do a show on central purpose.
And I'm
We've talked
standing
about
looking that
purpose
up.
more generally, and again, it was interesting to me to hear Dr. Bayer say, yes, there are purposes that are not directly part of your central purpose. But you're right, I should do a show on central purpose, the actual objectivist concept of central purpose and what it means to have an integrated purpose. Jean Maroney's talking, that was outstanding. I don't know if I could do one as well as that, but I could do my damnedest to come close to it, or at least a 5 minutes version of it.
Yes.
Are you looking at the description of that show, that talk that she gave?
That's right. That's correct. So that was Saturday, right? What day is it today? Oh, yeah, it's
Yep,
Sunday.
right there, just tap it.
Yeah, it's Jean Maroney, How to Set and Apply a Central
To
Purpose.
set and apply a central purpose.
And she says, having a central purpose can simplify your life, give it meaning to all of your work, and ensure that your actions add up to a significant achievement. In this talk, you'll learn the essentials of how to set and apply a central purpose, what a central purpose is, why only productive work can fill that role, steps to take to find and commit to a central purpose, the role of a central purpose plays in guiding day-to-day activity. So,
Yeah, and that's
it is good.
exactly what she talked about. For example, she didn't get in too much about setting the purpose, so much as why the purpose couldn't be, for example, romantic love, as important as that is, and why the purpose couldn't be, for a retiree, it couldn't just be vacations. As good as and important as vacations can be, central purpose has to be a productive purpose. It has to be actually producing values in real life. And she explained why that was, and if we do a show on it, we'll have to explain why that is. But that was more the emphasis of her talk. She did talk about, again, that she has resources, one of them is linked in our show notes, that would help you to do the work of setting your central purpose. One of the things she said was, this is something that takes time. For most people, it's going to require a half an hour or so of thinking about it every day for weeks.
Yes.
And
And
that's a daunting proposition, and yet an empowering one, to realize, oh yeah, if I sit for half an hour and think about my central purpose and don't come up with one, it doesn't mean I'm hopeless. It means this is a much bigger project than most folks realize it is.
And I really appreciated her, and I told her so afterwards. I said, I really appreciate your talking about negative emotions and how one shouldn't ignore them or think that they're not worthy of introspecting on. You know, you have a negative emotion and you think, well, it's painful to look at or to feel more or to pay attention to or focus on, try to introspect and look at it. I'm just going to sweep it under the rug and try to ignore that. That's not a good thing, and so I really appreciated her talking about that.
And in objectivist circles, you don't so much find people who say, oh, that emotion is painful, I'll repress it. But you do find people saying, that emotion is irrational, I will repress it.
You know, emotions are just things that occur, and it's a function of your metaphysical emotional mechanism, basically, and it's something that you can't just change on a dime like that. And you have to actually introspect and look past the emotion and ask yourself, what are the thoughts or premises or experiences beyond that emotion? Why? What content in my mind is causing me to feel this way? And it may be a lot of mix of different things. But yeah, you shouldn't just put it off. You should take time to actually feel and think about it. and not be afraid to look at it. So, and we also talked about Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, and she appreciated that quite a bit. And we talked about morning pages, which we talked about on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir before. And
a great form of brainstorming.
Yeah, so it's really, really great. So it was just a lovely little.
So obviously we could go on and on and on, and maybe on Thursday or maybe next Sunday we will, but as we get close to the top of the hour, Lord knows where did 5 minutes go.
Where'd it go? Many 5 minutes.
We want to thank you for joining us. This has been a good session. You know my homework is going to be to think about my central purpose, make sure I've got a real handle on it. One of the things Gene Maroney said, controversial with a lot of people I suspect, is your central purpose will change over the course of your life. They're not meant to be a lifetime for most people. And don't be surprised if your central purpose is different 10 years from now.
Yes.
Which means if you still have the central purpose and you're running into roadblocks with it, it might be that you've held it too long. And you may have changed as a purpose, your goals may have changed as a person. And that may be where I'm at. Again, I'm going to revisit my homework for the week, revisit my central purpose, reformulate it, make sure it really is it, make whatever changes I have to make to it. If you want to join me on that journey, make that your homework for the week too.
And just so you know, you can actually watch for the next 3 months. You can sign up for whatever, it's $100 or something like that for these lectures that we're attending.
Yes, virtual OCON.
All of them, and you can go ahead and watch them at your leisure.
Look up OCON 2021 in Google, and even without saying Ayn Rand, it will take you to the right place, and then look for the virtual option.
Yes,
and that will let you sign up for the virtual versions, the online versions of all the lectures.
Yes.
Very, very cool. And this year, they don't always, they usually just include the core, but this year, because of COVID, they're including everything, even the kind of fun or optional ones. Everything is included in virtual OCON this year. So definitely take advantage of that. Incidentally, lean over here. I don't have a post-it note of the week. See, I have a post-it note here. This has already got something written on it. I don't have any post-it notes. Literally, I don't have the papers. So I don't have a post-it note for the week either. So this is a, what will we call this? A make your own post-it note week. So next week we'll come back with the post-it note of the week. All that remains from OCON 2021 here in Austin, Texas. We got more comments coming in. I'm going to have to answer some of these online because it's just never going to end, and I love that fact that it's just never going to end. But this broadcast is going to end. Thank you for joining us. It's so much fun to be here live from OCON 2021. Look at this. I've got the official badge there, although it's a little washed out there, but that's okay. Look at this ribbon. Does this look good?
We miss you.
Good with the coat? It's kind of nice. A liner there. So, thank you for joining us. This was fun. You guys are the best. Thank you, especially people are still commenting, which means you sat through all 5 minutes of it. I really appreciate that. We will do this again. We'll be back on Thursday with our show Life on Earth, which is part of the Ayn Rand Center UK network, and back next Sunday for this show, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, starring Amy Nasir and me, this guy, and starring you. You really are the best, especially in the chat. You really make the show for us. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we wish you success. We wish you happiness. We wish you the kind of flourishing that's going to put money in your pocket and you can afford to come to OCON 2022. And as always, maybe a little extra because of all these wonderful people I think we all wish you love.